Saturday, two of my grandbabies spent the night. Got to go to church and spend some time with my church people and my fellowship groups, and it was just amazing. Our service this Sunday was by a gentleman that usually does parking. His name's Rodney, and he did an amazing service. The sermon was great, and he talked on grace, and that's what I was going to touch on this Motivated Monday, because I am motivated because of God's grace. I'm able to do a lot of things. Very thankful for that and very grateful for that. But he talked about God's grace was poured out on us. Even when we're not looking for him or we're not in the right place, he still gives us so much grace. And it's just really amazing. We think of grace a lot in a lot of different ways. You get grace on your student loans, and it's basically forgiven of things, and it's undeserved forgiveness. It's not something that we deserved, is what God's grace is. To have that in your life is just such a blessing, and to fully grasp it and understand that through all the times and the trials and tribulations when you're not walking in the way that you should be walking, his grace is still there and he still loves you, and you can always turn back to him and find out what his purpose is. I'm gonna have to remember to turn off that alarm when I start doing this, because I've got 1,000 alarms. They got to keep me on track. I get off into whatever I'm doing, and I get so focused in on what I'm doing that I will completely lose track of time, space, everything. My mom used to get so annoyed with me because I would be reading my book and she would try and get my attention, and the whole day would go by. So that's always been my struggle. I can be very focused. A lot of times people talk about focusing in, and I have to be careful not to focus in too much, because I will get on one thing and everything else is just forgotten. So I'm trying to learn to stay focused on my goals, but to be aware and open to whatever's going on around me. Anyway, I was talking about grace. An acronym for grace is that Rodney mentioned in the sermon was God's riches at Christ's expense. That is our grace. We get to join him in his kingdom because Christ suffered for us. That's a big deal, what Christ did for us so that we could be in with the Father. He read Titus 2:11 through 14. Three of the topics that we should focus on are, number one, live godly lives. That's verse 12. Have hope, verse 13, and be saved. Only way to heaven is by grace through faith. I'm prayerful that you have searched for God's grace. If you don't have it, you do have it, no matter what. But if you don't feel it, look into that and check it out, because God's grace is amazing. I love you. God loves you. Have an amazing week.